Pioneers closed out the regular season away from home at LMU and at Wingate. Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Staten, joined by Pioneer coach Devan Carter. We welcome you to Pioneer basketball with the coach. The Pioneers against Lincoln Memorial on Wednesday had, I think, something to prove a little bit. LMU also had something to prove, trying to get in and staying and solidifying a South Atlantic Conference berth, and have played well against the Pioneers at Pioneer Arena. And then, going into that contest, you're going to see a lot of different defensive looks, and definitely got that. Forced us to take a lot of outside shots, and I think their defensive game plan worked until we started hitting some shots late. But the early going, really a good contest between two good teams.
Yeah, it was a really good competitive matchup. I think that LMU does a great job of playing to their strengths. And, they really tried to force us to take some outside shots, as everybody from here on out will do. And I felt like we just, obviously new atmosphere, big arena. It takes a little while to get adjusted. And then I think once we got adjusted, made some changes to our press, I think we were able to get out and get some better looks. And, kids were able to step in and knock them down. Got some great contributions from some kids off our bench. And, we were able to go down and finish that second half off the way we were supposed to.
Pioneer team that has been great in transition offense this year, but LMU, I felt like, did a really good job protecting the basketball. They didn't get into that type of game. Yes, they had 16 turnovers, but, we're used to forcing over 20,
right.
And that just didn't happen. Felt like they handled the pressure. Flowers was one, Sydney Newsom, who's played very well here of late. I thought those two, with the ball in their hands, handled the pressure.
Yeah, they did. And I'll be honest, we had some, kids in different spots, I guess you'd say, just because of, the sickness on our team and everything. But, I think that LMU did a great job of trying to clear that pressure out. I think they did a solid job of not getting in too much of a hurry. And I think the big thing was, I don't know what the turnover count was at the half, but we weren't making shots. And when you don't make shots, you can't get into the press. So, I think for us, it was just a matter of knocking down some shots so we could finally get into it. And when we made our run, I felt like we got the game kind of moving at our pace. And so, credit to LMU, though. They did a really good job. I think probably better than anybody has all year at handling that pressure. So, to only force 16 turnovers, I think that was one of the first times this year that we hadn't held a team or hadn't gotten the team to 20 turnovers. Maybe once we had a team with 19, but they did a good job of handling it, and that's why the game was so close early on.
A Pioneer team that was nip and tuck early in the first quarter, and the second quarter actually would take a 6-point halftime lead, but did that without Mia Long scoring a single point. You heard Coach reference some illness, and I think Mia was battling a little bit of that. But second half, Mia became a totally different person.
Yeah, I mean, she, she was struggling. She was sick. She didn't practice, 2 days leading up to that. And her first practice was that morning, day of the game. And so, I think it took a little while to get her wind back. And second half, she said she was good to go. I think that, at the same time, we were able to knock down some shots and then get some stops and push in transition. And that's kind of that's her wheelhouse. So, I think you look at her, you look at Elle Hutchison, you look at some of the people that came off the bench. We were able to, kind of weather the storm, as you would say, until she, got her wits about her, and she did. In the second half, she was definitely a force for us and finished around the rim, created for others, and really helped us establish that lead.
One of those people she created for was Casey Johnson, who had a career-best 5 3-pointers in the game, finished with a game-high 21 points. And the Pioneers in the second half, during a 13-minute span, outscored LMU by 20. And that was where you put the game away. And you play a lot of college basketball, and the way players are, the way coaches scheme, and especially the second time you faced each other, you're not going to hide a whole lot, and it takes a moment in a game. And you had your moment in that game where you got hot and you were really good defensively, and I think that's what created that 20-point difference, and that's where you're able to put the game away.
Yeah, I think that in the first half it was a kind of a low-scoring affair, and I think that there were some details that we missed defensively, but I thought in that second half we really locked into it, and I thought we finished possessions well with the rebound. And so when you're able to do that, obviously that gets you in transition. But I think that the big key was, though, for us is that Mia was able to get in transition. She was able to hit that kick back to Casey a lot, and Casey was ready to shoot it. She stepped in, knocked it down. I told her, I joked with her, after the Wingate game. Hate to jump ahead of you, but I told her she didn't get to over 1,200 points by pump faking and passing up shots. And so, in that matchup, she was ready to shoot the basketball. And it's kind of hard to believe that she hasn't made 5 threes in a game before, but she was ready to shoot, and she knocked down some big ones. And then I think she knocked down the 3 that kind of put the game out of reach for us as well.
All right, Pioneers had 2 separate runs. In the second quarter, they went on a 14-1 run, but LMU was able to kind of get back into it after they trailed 23-10, trailed just by 6 at the half. But the second half, they couldn't overcome that because Casey Johnson hit all 3 of her attempts. And I think I sit there when I say that, I'm thinking Casey took just 3 attempts in the second half. She's a very unselfish player and takes the shot that is there for her. And I think in this particular case, it was good because Maya Belton was also coming in, knocking down 3. She had 11 points in her 16 minutes of play. Elle Hutchinson was doing what, as you talked about, but Mia was also finishing at the rim. And I think that all started with Casey just knocking down that first shot. You needed to get them out of that zone, and all of a sudden they went man. And if a team goes man against you, you have a much better chance of winning the ball.
For sure, and we especially when it's a team that plays a lot of zone. I think you can look at some of the games we played in this year. When you play a team that plays majority of zone, they spend a lot of time working on that zone. And the thing that they don't get to spend a lot of time with is their man-to-man. And so, being able to shoot a team out of that zone is really important for us because we feel like when we do that and we get teams to play us man-to-man, then we're going to have a really good chance of being successful. And so you look at, this matchup, we end up getting them out of the zone, and then they went man, and our kids pretty much knew, like, all right, now's the time. We got them. So I think that our kids really look forward to that. I mean, obviously, we get up a lot of threes, and believe it, the 3 ball is a great equalizer. And so once we were able, Casey and Maya were able to knock down some shots, then we were really able to execute our stuff.
Casey finishes with 21, Mia Long finishes with 13, all that coming in the second half after becoming the 19th player to score 1,000 points in her career. Did that on senior day against Coker. The Pioneers knocked down LMU 67-48. Pioneers get their 21st win, the most wins in the Devan Carter era. And for this Pioneer team, 08, 09, 9, 10, last time the Pioneers really kind of went back-to-back with 20-win seasons. And they get that job done, have a chance to jump to the number 2 position in the South Atlantic Conference Tournament with the win on the road at Wingate. For Coach Ann Hancock, here's a Wingate basketball team that is very accustomed to being in the role of either winning the conference title or being in that number 2 position. But she just graduated what Tusculum may graduate. A bunch of points last year. Brought in a bunch of freshmen. The MO is freshmen get you beat, but they also win a lot of basketball games for you because they have no fear. And Coach Ann Hancock, throw in that factor, she's going to stick with the game plan. Did that well against you guys on Saturday. I don't think you were going to pull her out of what she wanted to do. But it was also our first chance to see Brianna Troutman, who didn't play against us that very first time. And in the game, I think what gets lost, here's a bunch of freshmen, and they're one of the best defensive teams in our league just because they get it as a bunch of freshmen how to play defense.
And I think if you don't guard, it just, we told our girls yesterday in film, and we were having just a little chat. I mean, you look at your really good programs, and they have a lot of common themes. And you look at the best teams in our league, and you look at where the best teams in our league rank defensively. I think it goes Anderson, us, and Wingate, or Anderson, Wingate, and us. The common theme is we all guard. And so, when you have really good programs, they usually are going to be really good defensively, and Wingate is no exception. And I'll be honest, I think right now they're probably guarding better than anybody in the league. And you look at some of their wins, you look at their win against Anderson, you look at their win against Carson Newman, you look at their win against us. The common theme is they guarded at an elite level. And so, for us, a lot of people say, man, you held them to 51 points. That's really good. And that is really good. But they did a better job than us defensively, and they didn't have the lowest shooting performance in school history. So, you look at that, you can kind of take some positives out of it. You lose by 4, and, you shoot the way you did. But then you also know that, we haven't shot that way back-to-back times. So you feel kind of confident coming back to our place that the tides will change.
There are some staggering numbers in this contest, no doubt. All right, first of all, the Pioneers started against Queens. Let's go back a few games, 0 for 24 at one point. For the Pioneers, they didn't do that this game from 3, but 3 is better than 2. And, that is just, that's the word. But Wingate was giving the 3, and they stuck with it. And I don't know what would have happened if all of a sudden you'd put back-to-back 3s together. Down 10-4 at the end of the first quarter, rally, still trail at the half, but again, rally in that second half, and things really looked good. But the 3 wasn't going, and the numbers are this. You had 30 more shots than they did. They took 42 for the game. You attempted 44 threes alone. You got the looks. You got enough chances. You got enough opportunities. You turned them over 33 times. And I don't know that I have ever been a part of a game that you have coached when you've done that where you've taken the loss. And again, I think it was a little bit of an anomaly. But again, you sometimes you got to tip your hat to what they did defensively. They just didn't come out of it.
They didn't. And you know what? We went back and watched that film in its entirety as a team, and you look at the opportunities. I think there were even more opportunities for us to be successful in that ball game. And I look at a couple of things. You look at the final score, and you look at some of the runs that we had an opportunity to put together. Just 2 that stands out in my mind. We missed 5 straight free throws, and we've been one of the better free throw shooting teams in the league. We've sealed and iced a lot of games because of the free throw line, and so we missed 5 straight free throws in a chance where I forget what we were up. I think we were up 4 or something like that, but had an opportunity to kick it to 9. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a different ball game. And so, we look at our missed opportunities. We missed some 1-footers around the rim. We had a couple of times where, I think I'm probably the only coach around that not necessarily gives everybody the green light, but I expect you to shoot the ball when you're open, and you run offense to get open shots. Thus, we get up a lot of shots and everything in practice, but, not taking an open shot or not being shot ready is a cardinal sin here, and I felt like we had some of that. And so, obviously, going into the next game, the scout is going to be the same. You hold the team to 51 points, the scout's going to be the same. I would imagine they're going to do the same thing that they did against us as well. And we're going to have to step in and knock down some shots, and we're going to have to take advantage of our opportunities. And most definitely the foul line and the 1-footers is something that we look back on and say, man, that could have been a difference maker. So, once again, 2 years in a row, us and Wingate. I think the difference is now is that, we went down there last year. They're coming here this year, and no doubt it's going to be a great game.
Pioneers fall to Wingate, and in that game, the third quarter was the difference. You heard Coach Carter talk about missing some free throws. In the third quarter alone, we had 16 fouls called combined between the two. We didn't have anything like that through the rest of the quarters. As a matter of fact, it was a very clean played game. We had 3 technicals in that third quarter. And with Pioneers going to the free throw line, shooting some technicals, they missed them. And then they missed some other opportunities. And all it took was them to hit a 3 and get a technical themselves, and that kind of just put them back on top. However, Pioneers did have an opportunity at the end. Aaliyah Miller with some open looks from three-point territory, one of our better shooters. When it's not going around the rim for her, then we knew we were in trouble in the contest. Pioneers shoot just 22% for the game, shoot just 18% from 3, and fall 51-47 to the Wingate Bulldogs. And guess what? They get them from the Pilot Flying J South Atlantic Conference quarterfinal for a second consecutive year, which we'll talk about when we return right after this. Tusculum and Wingate open up the quarterfinal. That's when we come back with more Pioneer basketball with Coach Devan Carter.
So much of life these days is rushing around from one place to another. Sometimes you just want to enjoy the journey on the way to the destination. And part of what makes it a little more enjoyable is an appreciation for the folks who help you get there. At Ingalls, we know that the people who send you on your way are the same ones who keep you coming back.
I think you should take it for a spin. Are you serious?
Ingalls, all the ingredients for family.
We are.
Pioneers open up the Pilot Flying J South Atlantic Conference quarterfinal at home against the Wingate Bulldogs on Wednesday. It'll be 5:30 start time. The Bulldogs obviously coming in here as a team with Coach Hancock. They used to be in the Final Four. Here's something, for us just to try to get there and get back to. I think it shows what this program is about. But again, it won't be easy because I know you're going to see the same thing. We haven't necessarily shot the ball well at home here of late. I think some of it we have done well. I liken the fact that if we can force 33 turnovers again, I guarantee that we're not going to have the misses in the lane that we did last game. I think you're right. We don't shoot the ball as poorly back-to-back times. However, It's a Wingate team. They're different, and again, they've got a bunch of freshmen that just play without fear.
Yeah, play hard, and you know, I think the big thing for us is you get those turnovers, you force those turnovers, you got to score off those turnovers. And I thought that Wingate did a great job of you know, doing some things to kind of stop us in transition. And then I think that you know, we made some plays that were very uncharacteristic of ourselves. You know, like when you are on the road and you're trying to make a comeback, sometimes you feel like, you know, I got to take this one, or, you know, instead of making that simple play. And I thought we missed some simple plays in that ball game. And so when you go back and, you know, you got them coming in again, you try to take the positives from the matchup, and then you try to eliminate the negatives, and then hopefully it works out in your favor. So I think, you know, for us, obviously we got to score out of off turnovers. We got to score out of transition, and then we've got to knock down some shots. I mean, you said it. I think that you see one or two shots go in, and whether it's that third quarter, whatever it may be, and the game's probably a little bit different. But we're going to be on our home floor. We got to protect home court. Couldn't ask for anything better.
Pioneers last year played Wingate, who has made 4 straight tournament championship appearances. Just also keep that in mind. Of course, again, she graduated a lot from last year as well, but they do have Talia Jeter, the rim protector, which she did a great job this past Saturday protecting the rim against the Pioneers. But that's 4 straight tournament championship appearances. That pedigree is still there, despite being freshmen. You know, that want to be back to that level is there. Tusculum led this team 41-33 last year in the conference quarterfinal on the road, and Wingate went on an 11-0 run and put the game away, won at 51-47. That was overtime, you know, contest as well. So here is a Pioneer team now that has that opportunity to host. Again, haven't lost back-to-back games all season long. As a matter of fact, you're 9-0 after a loss. You were 13-0 on a Wednesday. So we can throw in a lot of numbers. I know you don't necessarily look at that. The bottom line is you got to make shots Wednesday.
Got to make shots, and, you know, got to make shots, got to take advantage of the free throw line. And then, you know, I'll be honest, that was one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of. And for a variety of reasons. And, you know, it had nothing to do with making shots or missing shots or anything else like that. But it was one of the craziest games I've ever been a part of. And I think that, you know, for us, we've got to be able to channel that because you don't know what you're going to get. And so I think the only thing that's certain is that Wingate's going to play hard and Tusculum's going to play hard. And then, you know, you try to control what you can control and let that other stuff take care of itself. But, you know, I think you look at the ball game, I can guarantee you 3 technicals won't be called in this game. Hopefully you won't have 16 fouls called in the third quarter. You know, hopefully, you know, us and Wingate can come in and compete and may the best team win. I hope it boils down to that. So, you know, I think that for us, for Wingate, obviously the game is huge. For us, we're trying to take that next step as a program, and that's getting to Furman. We've built every year. Every year we've been here has been better than the last, and I've told our kids they've accomplished a lot. Second best regular season in Division II history for us. Most conference win ever. You know, but at the same time, there's still work to be done. And so, you know, our next step is trying to get into that NCAA tournament and trying to advance to Furman and doing those things. That's on our bucket list. They got the opportunity. Couldn't ask for a better opportunity. But as they say, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And that's what Ric Flair used to say. And Wingate's been that for a long time. And for us to take that next step, you gotta do it.
Got to play some of the best, and they're going to do that opportunity. They'll have that opportunity Wednesday. The 16 wins, the most in a conference season for the Pioneers. The 21 wins, the most since the 2008-9 season when they won 23 games. It's the most in the Devan Carter era. A lot that this team has accomplished, and it's 4,000 points that he will actually lose and have to replace. And it's a lot like what Wingate lost from a season ago. Playing without Sydney Wilson has been tough, and the Pioneers have figured out a way. They'll probably figure out another way this Wednesday as well. The rest of the tournament looks like this as the matchup of the 2 and 7 Carson Newman taking on Lenore Ryan. So the 2 winners will face off against each other on Saturday in Furman at the Timmons Arena. In the other half of the bracket, Anderson goes 19-3. They get the top spot. They host Lincoln Memorial University. The winner of that game will play the 4-5 matchup. That is Catawba and Newberry. Catawba falling all the way to the 5 seed. We didn't really talk about that a lot. They played with an ineligible player, and they were punished, had to vacate some wins because of that. And because of that, their percentages knocked them down to the 5 seed. So Newberry gets the opportunity to host the Catawba Indians this coming Wednesday as well. Of course, our coverage on the Pioneer Sports Network will begin at 5:30 with tip-off of Tusculum and Wingate, where you can watch it. The Pioneers, the only program to host 2 quarterfinal games on Wednesday, and you'll have the opportunity to come in for both of the games. The men play Anderson. That'll be at 7:30. $8 will get you in for both games, so come on out, support the Pioneers. Need a big crowd to propel these Pioneers to the conference semifinals. Pioneer women haven't been there. It's been over a decade since we've been down to Furman University. I've actually gone to Furman one time as a program, but that's been it. And a Wingate team that is used to being in the tournament championship game will face them on Wednesday at 5:30. Pioneers tip it off at 5:30. He's Pioneer coach Devan Carter. I'm Brian Staten. For everybody behind the scenes here at the Pioneer Sports Network. And until next time, go Pioneers.